In case you didn't hear, YouTube has gone full Tumblr and full Twitter. Because ISIS.
Allah Akbar!
Do you like my new dank background? Do you want to kill yourself after hearing me say dank background? Well, I'm sure you will after hearing about this if you haven't heard already. What is it about YouTube that screams the name Hillary Clinton? Its refusal to let you monetize a video with ISIS in the title, as if ISIS should be some protected group that you can't take advantage of. YouTube, in case you haven't heard from much better YouTubers than myself, although still generally cancerous, has been banning your right to use certain words in your titles while making money off of it. So basically, it's gone and cucked itself to the left, all the way to the max. It's even gotten to the point where they apparently, and I stress the word apparently, won't let you talk about North Korea and monetize your videos either. Is it too much to ask that you not behave like an autistic man-child who thrives on being a low-functioning autist who has to have somebody, as spastic as Hillary Clinton tell you all your opinions? Is it too much to ask that you have your own goddamn autonomy? But I guess the average person wouldn't know what autonomy is nowadays. When you do shit like this, you end up not only showing how balls to the wall unfaithful you are to your user base, you show that you're basically the disease that needs to go. You're a part of the reason this country is so full of shit right now. Not just shit, but so shit that it's like if Godzilla just got done eating an entire sea of radioactive sharks that got done taking shits themselves, and the shit went with them, and then got mixed in with the badass, back-ass diarrhea that goes into Godzilla's average everyday shit.
That is one big pile of shit.
You might as well call it quits and just hang up the towel of calling yourself YouTube and just call yourself JewTube, because you're literally working your ass off, not for us, the users, but for the Zionist retards that run Hillary Clinton's campaign. But I guess a regular Jew would probably just wind up hating you even more for just trying to, act like you represent anything more than the worst of their greedy pigs in their society. Now let's have a sort of a thought experiment. What if we lived in a world where Hillary Clinton's ways is the new way of the world?
New way? What's this about a new way?
Let's pretend for a moment that it's now illegal to refer to a terrorist attack by its obvious root cause, such as radical members of Islam, aka radical Islam. Which of these scenarios is likely to be the case for this world, in that scenario, in that future, that you pretend exists? A world where it's all sunshine and butterflies and ISIS exists no more because no one is calling them a terrorist. Everybody's like, no, radical Islam doesn't exist. It's just some, crazy guy. The same, kind of crazy guy you run on the street who rapes children just because, that same kind of crazy guy who goes on a shooting spree because his boss told him that he's, getting fired. B, a world where some members of ISIS exist, but most are gone and everyone is equally happy. C,
duh, I'm rich in this world because I white-knighted Clinton and voted for her. We all now have that Clinton cash. We're all equally the 1%.
Or D, a world where Islamic extremists are not only introducing mass rapes of women not wearing hijabs and burqas, and raping children for, their sexual emergencies, but reintroducing the ways that chased their more moderate people out of their homes, and forcing these poor souls to kill themselves as their only escape, or risk being raped in submission before being stoned to death. If you guessed anything other than D, then you're a
full retard, man.
Look, I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't have issue with Muslims, but only a living disingenuous shill who might just be Lucifer would try to call a terrorist attack by a Muslim Islamist as everything but radical Islam, to the point that Islam and Muslims seem almost synonymous with terrorism in a black and white world. If you think it's Trump who's calling your Muslim friends all terrorists, perhaps you should look at the woman who refuses to make a distinction between Muslims and ISIS. Or are you a firm believer that ISIS is the same as you? Do you want to welcome ISIS members in? Do you think it's impossible for an ISIS member to throw away their passport and pretend to be one of you? If so, you should play a game of shut the fuck up and kill yourself. Just because it sounds easy to believe in a fantasy doesn't mean that the fantasy is better than the reality. Because the reality of it is that you can fix this. Most of the time, fantasies tend to turn into nightmares. That's what a story is, a fantasy. So in reality, that fantasy, even in its own little world, will turn into the nightmare portion of reality. And YouTube trying to white knight for ISIS in North Korea like this isn't going to help us avoid that nightmare. It's just going to add more to it. So let's get one thing straight, YouTube. You work for us, not ISIS. So we have every right to use ISIS in our titles for political purposes and should lose nothing in exchange for it. Otherwise, you may as well come out and say, Allahu Akbar! If you want to know who not to trust, just use this article on ABC News about a group of humanitarian doctors that refused to release crucial information that could begin the negotiations for the release of an American ISIS hostage. If anyone ever tells you that something like this, like, ISIS issues, or something related to Islam, like the Cologne rapes, is a nuanced issue,
it's a nuanced, complex issue,
or refuses to tell you anything related to the issue at hand, keep in mind that you might be dealing with traitors to the freedoms of your people and every person in America or of any culture who enjoys freedoms. The freedoms to be free of autistic antisocial barbarians who should all be burned at the stake. Oh, but I guess if you burn ISIS, that means you burn Islam. Kill yourself.
Nigga.